Welcome back, everyone. Now that we've explored the principles and the tools of Open BIM, let's look at how we can really get into the tracking and compliance stages. We'll focus on how you verify and validate information and ensure that this aligns with the project requirements and ISO 19650. Firstly, we'll be looking at tracking and compliance, how to ensure that your project information aligns with the requirements and is verified effectively. And then we'll wrap up with a lessons learned segment about how we can capture those lessons learned and share the key takeaways so that we can improve workflows and achieve success on our next project.
Now let's talk about tracking and compliance. I think we've all seen these BIM workstations with at least 2 screens, sometimes even more. It always reminds me to the operator from the movie Matrix. And on one screen, you are probably having the execution plan open. On the other screen, you have the EIR. Third screen would be the model. Fourth is a spreadsheet, and so on and so on. What is happening there is trying to manually cross-check information requirements against the model, but it's really frustrating, error-prone, and sometimes it's just simply impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's not forget, every time you switch screens, all of those questions you're asking yourself, did I miss that requirement? Is it complete? Am I on the latest version? It's such a difficulty managing all of these different aspects of information. You can probably relate to this guy. Yeah, you're not alone. We all experience this too. Let's look at the steps that are involved to solve some of these challenges of tracking and compliance.
First step is track progress using the master information delivery plan and the responsibility matrix. You can clearly see what tasks are assigned, who is responsible for them, and how far they have been progressed. The MIDP acts like a roadmap that helps you track which information needs to be delivered and by when. So this eliminates confusion and miscommunication, making sure that nothing is missed out and that every team member is aligned with their deliverables.
As progress is being tracked, the next step is to validate the deliverables. Compare the outputs against the exchange information requirements. By cross-checking deliverables, you ensure that the information being produced aligns perfectly with what the client or project owner expects. This step helps maintaining quality, avoiding unnecessary revisions, and ensuring project success.
Finally, automate the checking process. Manually checking models and documents against project requirements can be incredibly time-consuming, especially if you're juggling multiple files or milestones. Use automation tools to automate the validation process. This saves your time, reduces human errors, and makes the entire process more efficient.
As you can see, compliance doesn't just have to mean stress and countless spreadsheets. It's the corny phrase of working smarter, not harder. And with the right processes and tools, you can be sitting like this guy in the corner, cool, relaxed, confident, and completely on top of tracking and compliance. Let's see how Planoly can support this automation and make it all so much easier. So in the Verify module, we can see models and how they can be connected automatically to the tasks and the information requirements. In this example, we are connecting the name of a task to the type name inside of an element, and it will automatically find and connect those and then evaluate the percentages. We can see every task has a percentage of completeness, and that's the information completeness. As we go through these tasks, we can identify what parts of the task are complete and which ones are potentially still missing information. As we status each of these tasks, the elements will change colors, and we'll be able to understand the completeness of a model. As we go through this, we can even group things to be able to identify maybe where elements need more refinement. We might want to status deliverables by dragging tasks from one place to another, and we also might want to status whole complete models once we get to a certain place. We can choose different models. So here we see the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing models together. And by filtering just potentially the mechanical team's tasks and seeing only those that have been proposed so far, we can see the status of those tasks and the information completeness. As we go through statusing them, we can then identify exactly which elements are still needing additional work and which ones are passing the verification checks. When we're ready, we can move that status to be either shared or published, and we can also see the stages or the milestones, each in a list. And picking a milestone, we can see the color coding of all of the tasks that are in that milestone and being able to select each one of them to identify the elements that are progressing and maybe the elements that are not so progressed. And finally, we will then move the model when we're ready to the published status so that everyone knows when that model has been authorized for use. It's only when the tasks have been verified for that model is when you would then move the model to be an authorized and published, ready for use for everybody else. That workflow is pretty simple if you have everything in the same place. So you can see how by filtering tasks and by understanding the status of the elements inside of models, going through an approval process for all of those, but all in the same place rather than in disparate spreadsheets and PDFs, this makes it a lot more easy and more simple and much more efficient. Have you ever found yourself on a project desperately searching for certain elements or tasks or information that you think should be there because this is something that you found on a previous project, but it occurs again and you're trying to understand where this requirement came from and who changed it and why is this happening again on our project?
Well, this is a classic scenario when project updates are not being tracked efficiently and lessons learned are ignored. As the project progresses, it's crucial to ensure that changes align with the initial requirements and milestones we have set. Without proper documentation and reflections, teams can end up repeating the same mistakes, missing updated requirements, or overlooking important changes. This is where lessons learned become invaluable. By reflecting on what worked well and what didn't and what changes were missed, we can create a smarter, more streamlined process for future projects.
It's critical that we understand what the requirements were, what actually happened, and what differed, what was wrong, or what did we do differently? How do we fix it on that project, and how can we capture that lesson learned for the future?
First of all, it's essential to establish a structured process right from the beginning. This will ensure that everyone knows what to reflect on, how to document it, and who is responsible.
Lessons learned are most valuable when they are tied to specific milestones or project phases, whether it's design, construction, or handover. Capturing insight at each stage helps identify recurring challenges and opportunities.
And create a feedback loop. This is where lessons truly add value. By feeding back into future projects or even to a current project, teams can avoid repeating mistakes and they can improve processes continuously.
By following these steps, teams can ensure that every project becomes a learning opportunity. Let's see how Planoly helps us to capture these lessons learned in various places in an effective and structured way. When we add project tasks that have not been originally scoped, they appear in the unscoped tasks. Review them as a team, either every milestone or every project as we get to the end of the project. So once we create these, we are creating an export of those requirements that can be reviewed and then incorporated onto the next project. And when we create our new projects, we have the opportunity to reuse from our previous project anything as a template. In this example, we're going to pull up the previous zoo project, and maybe if we're creating an EIR on our existing project, if the template project is updated, in this example, we're adding another requirement that we look for because we'd missed it on a previous project. And if we update a template with those requirements and publish that new content, then we go back to the new project that we're working on. We'll see where it's flagging that there is an update, and we can incorporate that update, and we'll see how that affects our project data. Just simply marking it as incorporated, and it will also include those updates in our project. That process allows you to capture all of the unscoped tasks and all of the updates, and incorporates a workflow in a tool that allows you to see whether those updates are going to affect your current projects and your future projects. It's a seamless link between your project data and your learning of those lessons and pushing them into future projects as well. With Planoly, capturing lessons learned and integrating them into your workflow becomes an organized and automated process. It saves time and it ensures that no lessons are missed. So remember,
don't plan late.
Plan early.
With Planoly. We'll see you on the last one.